It started with a crack, not thunder, not a door slamming, but the shatter of glass. That glass belonged to the emergency exit on the second floor, and the water had ripped it right off its hinges. Rain had been hammering our university for over 12 hours, and the river behind the school had already swallowed its banks. The roads were gone, and the entire east side of campus had turned into a trapped island. Students packed into the main gymnasium, standing on bleachers with backpacks held over their heads, staring through rain-streaked windows at rescue teams that couldn't reach them. The power had died twice. And the emergency lights kept flashing red, painting everyone's faces in that horrible, pulsing glow. We were all waiting for the same thing, a way out. I stood near the entrance, and beside me was Emily Parker, the girl everyone on campus knew. Student council president, scholarship winner, the professor's favorite, she was the one everyone said had a perfect future. She held my hand tight as another wave of water crashed against the gym doors, and for a moment, I thought we'd make it through together. Then the rescue captain walked in, his uniform soaked, his face carved from stone. The entire gym fell silent before he even spoke. Captain Mason looked around, then said, "The current is getting worse. We have one small rescue boat left before the main team returns." People started shouting immediately, "Only one boat? How many can it take? Can you come back?" Mason raised his hand and barked, "Stop talking. Listen." The room went quiet again. "It can carry one person safely," he said, "maybe two if conditions hold, but right now we can't guarantee a second trip." Panic rippled through the crowd like a shockwave, and everyone started looking at everyone else. Then the captain pointed toward the exit and said, "We need to decide now." Emily squeezed my hand so hard it hurt, and I turned to her. "Emily?" She looked at me, her face pale, and started to say my name, Ryan, but before she could finish, someone pushed through the crowd. Ethan Brooks, her childhood friend, her first teammate, the guy whose name popped up in every story she ever told about her hometown. He was clutching his injured shoulder, and several students were helping him walk forward. Emily let go of my hand instantly. She moved toward him like I wasn't even there. "Ethan, what happened?" He lowered his head and said, "I got hit by falling debris near the science building." The rescue captain looked at him and asked, "Can you walk?" Ethan nodded, but added, "I don't know how long I can keep going." Emily grabbed his arm and said, "Sit down. You need help." I watched her, not because she helped him, but because I already knew what was coming. For years, every time Ethan needed something, a ride, a favor, a late-night call, a problem to solve, Emily was there. I had ignored it because she always said the same thing, "He's family." But standing there in that flooded gym, with everyone waiting for the last escape, I finally saw the truth. The rescue captain looked between us and asked, "Who is taking the boat?" Nobody spoke. Then Emily stepped forward and said, "Ethan." The entire gym froze. Ethan looked at her, shocked. "Emily?" She grabbed his hand and said, "You need to go." I walked closer, my voice cold. "What did you just say?" Emily looked at me. "Ryan, listen." "No." "Say it again." She looked away. "You can wait here." A few students nearby turned around, they heard every word. I pointed toward the rescue boat. "You're giving him the last seat." Emily's voice sharpened. "He's injured. He needs medical attention. You don't." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out for a second. Then she lowered her voice and said, "You're stronger than him." I laughed once, not because it was funny, but because the excuse was unbelievable. The flood water was rising, the building was shaking, and she was standing there explaining why another man deserved the only way out more than I did. Ethan stepped closer. "Ryan, don't make this difficult." I looked at him. "You're telling me not to make this difficult?" He avoided my eyes. Emily grabbed his arm. "Ryan, please. This is not the time." "No, this is exactly the time." The rescue captain stepped between us. "We don't have time for arguments." Emily looked at me, and her expression changed, not regret, not fear, but frustration, like I was the one creating a problem. "Ryan, you have to understand." I waited. She continued, "Ethan and I grew up together. He has always been there for me." I looked at Ethan, then back at her. "And I haven't?" She stayed silent. That silence answered everything. The rescue team began moving Ethan toward the exit, and students stepped aside, some looked at me, some looked away. Nobody wanted to be involved. Emily followed Ethan, then stopped for a moment. I thought she might turn around. Instead, she said, "We'll come back for you." I stared at her. "You know the current is getting worse.
Yes. You know there might not be another boat. Her face tightened, but she repeated, "We'll come back." Then she walked away.
The door opened, cold rain rushed inside, and Ethan climbed into the rescue boat. Emily followed. The engine started, and I stood there as the boat moved into the dark water.
She never looked back. The people around me slowly began whispering that was his girlfriend, right? She left him. She chose the other guy. I ignored them and walked away from the window. A professor named Dr. Harris approached me. "Ryan." I turned. He looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry." I nodded. "Save your apology." He lowered his head. I didn't know she would do that. Neither did I. Another explosion of thunder shook the building.
And the lights went out again. The emergency alarm started screaming. A staff member ran inside and shouted, "The west wall is leaking."
Everyone panicked and started moving upstairs.
I walked toward the old storage room near the gym, and Dr.
Harris followed. "Where are you going? To make a call? There's no signal."
I pulled out my phone. The screen was cracked, the battery was low, but one number was saved differently from all others.
Not with a name, with a code. I pressed it, and the call connected.
After 2 seconds, a calm voice answered, "Carter, emergency command." I looked through the broken window at the flooded campus and said, "Activate Protocol 7.
The operator went silent, then the voice changed. "Confirm authorization." I entered the security code, and a few seconds passed. Then, authorization confirmed. "Welcome back, Mr. Carter."
Dr. Harris stared at me, but I ignored him.
"How long?"
The operator answered immediately, "Your aircraft can reach the university in 18 minutes.
Ground rescue team is already preparing."
I looked outside. The rain was still falling, the campus was still trapped, but the situation had changed. Not because someone came back for me, but because I stopped waiting.
"Send the plane." "Yes, Mr. Carter." I ended the call. Dr. Harris stared. "Ryan." I looked at him. "Don't tell anyone yet." "Who are you?" Before I could answer, another wave hit the building. The entire gym shook.
I walked toward the stairs and said, "Someone who should have left a long time ago." 18 minutes later, the people who abandoned me would learn something. The man they left behind was never helpless. They just never bothered to look closely enough. The first thing people noticed was not the sound, it was the light. For hours, the campus had been covered by darkness, rain, and emergency signals. Then a powerful beam cut through the storm clouds, and a helicopter appeared above the flooded football field. Behind it came 2 black rescue vehicles moving through the water. Students pressed against the gym windows, and someone shouted, "Is that the military?" Another student pointed outside. "No, look at the logo." The symbol on the aircraft was simple, a silver eagle wrapped around a blue shield. Carter Global Rescue. Nobody in that gym understood what it meant, not yet. I stood near the second-floor hallway, watching the rescue team move into position. Captain Mason's team arrived first, entering through the damaged side entrance with advanced waterproof equipment. The same students who had been panicking moments earlier suddenly became quiet. The rescue captain walked toward me. "Mr. Carter." I nodded. "How many people are trapped?" 127 confirmed, students and staff, 14 injured. The west building is unstable. Evacuation orders starting immediately. I looked toward the flooded hallway. "Start with the injured." Mason nodded. "Yes, sir." A student nearby heard that and turned around, eyes wide. "Sir?" I didn't answer. The rescue team moved quickly, no confusion, no arguments. Every person had a position, every order had a purpose. The same people who had spent hours waiting for someone to save them now watched a rescue operation controlled by the person they thought had been abandoned. Dr. Harris stood beside me, his face changed, he kept looking from me to the rescue teams. "Ryan." I looked over. He lowered his voice. "You're the one who called them?" "Yes." "You own this company?" "No." He paused. "Then why are they listening to you?" Before I answered, Noah Carter walked through the entrance, perfect suit. Dry coat, calm expression, completely out of place in a flooded university. He stopped in front of me. "Mr. Carter." Students immediately looked over. Noah handed me a tablet. "Your father's office has been informed. The board is requesting your confirmation before we release the emergency funding." I took the tablet. "Approve it."
Noah nodded.
Even though the university ignored the previous safety report.
Dr. Harris froze. Explain. Noah turned the screen, a document appeared.
3 months ago, Carter Global Rescue offered to upgrade this campus flood protection system. Several students gathered closer. Noah continued, the university rejected the proposal because they considered the cost unnecessary.
Dr. Harris looked shocked. What? Noah looked at him.
The report was sent to the administration.
Dr. Harris shook his head.
I never saw that because it was removed from the faculty communication list. The hallway became silent. A professor nearby stepped forward.
Who removed it? Noah didn't answer, he didn't need to.
Everyone understood, the people responsible for the disaster were not the storm, they were the people who ignored the warning. A rescue worker rushed over.
Captain Mason, we found 6 students trapped in the chemistry building. Mason immediately turned. Move.
I followed, and Dr. Harris followed me.
Ryan, wait. I stopped.
He looked uncomfortable.
Why didn't you tell anyone who you were? I looked at him. Would it have changed anything?
He didn't answer, because everyone already knew. If they had known my last name, if they had known my company, if they had known I could bring a private rescue operation into a disaster zone, people would have treated me differently. But I didn't need people who respected my money, I needed people who respected me. And tonight, I had seen exactly who did not. The rescue operation continued for the next hour. Students moved out one group at a time, the injured transferred directly to the aircraft medical unit. The storm started weakening, but the damage was already done, not just to the campus, but to everything people believed.
Around midnight, the last group entered the rescue zone, and among them was Emily.
I saw her before she saw me. She walked beside Ethan, a rescue worker carrying his bag, and she looked exhausted. Her clothes were wet, her hair was messy, and she looked nothing like the confident student council president from earlier. Then she noticed the aircraft, the vehicles, the rescue team, and finally me. She stopped, her expression shifting.
Ryan. I kept walking.
She stepped forward.
Ryan, wait.
I stopped, not because she asked, but because Noah had something to tell me.
Mr. Carter, your flight is ready.
Emily heard it, her eyes moved toward Noah, then back to me.
Your flight? Nobody answered.
She looked around, the rescue workers, the aircraft, the people following my instructions, then she whispered, what is happening?
Ethan stepped forward, his voice weaker than before. Ryan.
He looked at the rescue vehicles.
You arranged all this? I looked at him. Yes.
His face changed for the first time all night, he looked uncertain.
Emily walked closer. You knew you could call a private rescue team? Yes. Then why didn't you tell me? I looked at her. You never asked. Her expression tightened. That's not fair.
I stepped closer, the rain hitting the ground between us.
Fair? She looked away.
I continued, you gave away the last rescue seat.
She opened her mouth. I was trying to save someone. No.
I pointed toward Ethan.
You chose someone. Ethan's face darkened. Ryan. Enough. I looked at him. You got the boat. You got the medical attention.
You got everything she decided you deserved.
Emily immediately defended him.
Ryan, stop attacking him.
I looked at her. That's exactly the problem.
The words landed harder than shouting, several students nearby stopped moving. I continued, you don't see what happened.
She stared at me. You think I'm angry because I lost a seat? I shook my head. I'm angry because when it mattered, you showed me where I stood. Nobody spoke.
The rescue captain walked past us.
Mr. Carter, the aircraft is ready. Emily looked at me. Aircraft. Noah stepped forward.
Miss Parker, Ryan Carter is the heir of Carter Global Rescue. Her face went completely still.
Ethan looked at Noah. What?
Noah continued, the company responsible for tonight's rescue operation. The silence afterward was louder than the storm.
Emily stared at me.
She couldn't finish.
I looked at her. Yes.
She took a step closer.
Why did you hide this? I adjusted my jacket. Because I wanted someone to choose me.
Her eyes moved, the sentence hit harder than anything else, not because I raised my voice, but because I didn't. A rescue worker called from behind, Mr. Carter, we need to depart before the weather changes.
I nodded. Emily grabbed my arm. Ryan. I looked down at her hand, she immediately released it. Please. I waited. She struggled to speak. I made a mistake.
I looked at Ethan standing behind her, then at the flooded campus, then back at her.
A mistake is choosing the wrong restaurant. Leaving someone behind during a disaster is a decision. Emily's face turned pale.
The aircraft door opened, and the wind pushed across the field. Students watched silently.
The same people who saw me abandoned hours ago now watched me leave. Noah followed, and before entering the aircraft, he turned back.
Mr. Carter, your father asked if you want the university contract cancelled. I looked at the damaged buildings, the broken flood barriers, the people responsible for ignoring the warnings, then at Emily.
No. Everyone waited. Not yet.
The door closed, the aircraft engine started, and through the window I saw Emily standing in the rain. She was looking at me, but this time I wasn't the person waiting for her to come back.
I was the person leaving.
The aircraft lifted above the flooded campus. Below me was the place where everyone had made their choices.
Emily chose Ethan. A university chose money over safety. And I chose myself.
The next morning, everyone would learn the truth, not about the storm, but about the man they left behind. The news spread faster than the flood. By sunrise, every major local channel was reporting the university disaster, headlines everywhere. Private rescue operation saves 127 students during historic flood. Carter Global Rescue deploys emergency aircraft overnight. Unknown university student revealed as heir behind massive rescue effort. But the part everyone wanted to talk about was not the rescue, it was me, the student who had been left behind, the student who arrived on a private aircraft, the student nobody knew was connected to one of the largest emergency response companies in the country. I sat inside the aircraft as Noah handed me a tablet. The screen showed dozens of articles, social media posts, student discussions, videos recorded inside the gym. One video had already gone viral. It showed Emily giving Ethan the last rescue seat.
And the clip was only 30 seconds long. But it was enough.
The comments were brutal. She left her own boyfriend. She chose another guy during a disaster. That's not loyalty, that's betrayal.
Noah turned off the screen. You want us to release a statement? No. He looked at me. No explanation? I shook my head.
The video already explained everything. Noah nodded. He had worked for my family for 8 years, and he knew when I had made a decision. The aircraft landed at Carter International Recovery Center 2 hours later. The moment I stepped out, employees were already waiting, not because I demanded attention, but because the emergency situation had changed everything. The center was operating at full capacity, teams preparing supplies, pilots checking aircraft, engineers reviewing flood damage maps. This was the world I had been born into, a world Emily never knew existed. 3 days later, the university reopened emergency communication. The flood had damaged several buildings, classes were suspended, investigations began, and everyone wanted answers, especially Emily. She came to the Carter Recovery Center, and I saw her through the glass wall. Before she entered my office, she looked different, not because of her clothes, but because the confidence was gone. The girl who had walked away from me during the flood now stood outside my office waiting for permission to enter.
My assistant opened the door. Ms. Parker is here. I looked at the documents on my desk. Let her in.
Emily walked inside slowly. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she looked around the office, the company logo, the emergency operation maps covering the walls. Everything confirmed what she had learned. Ryan Carter was never the ordinary student she thought he was.
She finally spoke. Why didn't you tell me? I put down the document. You already asked me that. I need the real answer. I looked at her. The real answer is simple. She waited. I didn't want you to love a name.
Her expression changed.
I never cared about your money.
I picked up another file.
Emily. Yes. When the rescue boat arrived, you didn't know my name. She went silent. You didn't know my family.
I continued. You didn't know I could call a helicopter.
She lowered her eyes. But you still made a choice.
Her fingers tightened.
I thought Ethan was hurt. He needed help. He did. She looked at me. Then why are you acting like I did something terrible? I leaned back. Because you didn't just help him. The room became quiet. You gave him your only chance. She looked away. I thought you would understand. I nodded. That's what you keep saying. She frowned. What? You keep saying I should understand. But did you ever try to understand me? She didn't answer, because she knew. The door opened, Noah walked in holding a folder. Mr. Carter. He placed it on the desk. The investigation report. Emily looked at the folder. What report? Noah opened it. The rescue records from the night of the flood. Emily became uncomfortable. Why do I need to see this? Noah looked at her. Because you still believe you made the correct decision. He turned the pages. Ethan Brooks was not trapped when the first rescue team arrived. Emily froze. What? Noah pointed at the report. He had a minor shoulder injury. She shook her head. No, he said he was badly hurt. The medical report says otherwise. Silence. Noah continued, he was able to walk. He was able to carry his own backpack. Emily looked confused. Then why did he act like that? I didn't answer, Noah did. Because he wanted the seat. Her face changed. No. The word came out quietly. Noah placed another document down. Security footage from the science building entrance. The video played, everyone saw it, Ethan standing normally, talking with other students, then noticing the rescue boat, then grabbing his shoulder, then calling Emily. The room became silent. Emily stared at the screen. No. I watched her reaction, not with anger, not with satisfaction, just silence. Because the truth was finally standing in front of her, the person she sacrificed everything for had never needed saving. That afternoon, Ethan came to the recovery center. He didn't come to apologize, he came angry. The moment he entered the lobby, he started shouting, Ryan Carter. Everyone turned. He walked toward me. You ruined my life. I looked at him. You did that yourself. He pointed at me. You exposed me. No. I stepped closer. The truth exposed you. His face turned red. You think you're better than everyone because you have money. I looked around the lobby, workers, engineers, rescue teams, people who had spent the last 3 days helping victims. No. I looked back at him. I think actions matter. He laughed. Don't pretend you're some hero. A few employees stopped working. Ethan continued, you were lucky, that's all. I looked at him. Lucky? I pointed toward the operation room. Those people were trapped because someone ignored safety warnings. I pointed toward the rescue teams. They were saved because people acted. Then I looked at him. You were given a seat because someone believed your story. His expression changed. I continued, and you still complain. Ethan stepped forward. You took Emily away from me. I looked at him. No. I shook my head. She made her own choice. That sentence stopped him because it was true. Emily was not forced, she decided, and now she had to live with it. The next week, the university board held a public meeting. The entire campus watched. The flood investigation results were released, the ignored safety proposals, the delayed repairs, the false reports, everything came out. The university president resigned, several administrators faced investigation. And Carter Global Rescue became the company leading the campus reconstruction project. But one thing surprised everyone: I refused to take over the university. Reporters asked me why, and my answer was simple: I'm here to fix what was broken. A reporter asked, Mr. Carter, what about your relationship with Emily Parker? The room became quiet. I looked at the camera, then answered, that relationship ended the moment she decided who mattered. The clip spread everywhere. Emily watched it from her apartment, watching the man she thought she understood, the man she thought would always wait, the man she thought would forgive anything. But she finally understood something: Ryan Carter had never needed rescuing. He was the person everyone else was waiting for. That night, I received one message from Emily, only 5 words: can we talk one last time? I looked at the screen, then placed the phone down, because the storm was over, but some choices lasted much longer than a flood. And Emily Parker was about to learn that losing me was not the worst part was watching me become someone she could never reach again. Emily did not stop trying. For the next 2 weeks, my assistant blocked 17 calls from her. She sent 9 messages. She showed up at the Carter Recovery Center 3 times, and every time, the answer was the same: Mr. Carter is unavailable. It was not because I was hiding, I was working. The flood had damaged thousands of homes across the region, and Carter Global Rescue had expanded operations from one campus rescue to a full regional recovery effort. Every hour mattered, every decision affected real people. Unlike Emily, who had spent years deciding who deserved my attention, I spent my time helping people who actually needed it. One morning, Noah walked into my office. She's outside again. I continued signing documents. Who? He looked at me. Emily Parker.
I placed the pen down.
What does she want?
She says she needs 10 minutes.
I looked at the clock. Give her 2. Noah nodded. A few seconds later, Emily entered.
She looked exhausted, not physically, emotionally. The confident girl who once stood in front of hundreds of students now looked like someone who had lost everything.
She sat across from my desk. Ryan. I didn't respond. She took a breath. I know you don't want to hear this.
That's correct. Her face tightened, but she continued, I need to say it.
I looked at her. Say it. She lowered her head. I was wrong.
The room stayed quiet. For the first time, she admitted it. No excuses, no explanation, just those words, but they came too late. She continued, I thought I was saving someone who needed me. I looked at the documents in front of me.
You were? She looked up. What? Ethan needed you.
Her expression changed. He needed someone to protect his lies.
She looked away. I didn't know. No. I leaned back. You didn't want to know.
The words hit her. She opened her mouth, then closed it, because she knew the difference. Not knowing was an accident, refusing to see was a choice. The door opened. Noah walked in.
Mr. Carter. He placed a tablet on my desk.
The university board released another statement.
Emily looked confused. What statement? Noah turned the screen. The headline appeared. Former student-athlete Ethan Brooks faces investigation over false disaster claims. Emily froze. What? I looked at Noah. Explain. Noah opened the report.
After the flood footage became public, several students came forward. They reported Ethan exaggerated injuries, took emergency supplies, and pressured others to give him priority.
Emily grabbed the tablet. That can't be true. Noah looked at her. The evidence is clear.
She read the report. Her face changed line by line. The same man she defended, the same man she chose, the same man she believed was the victim, was now being investigated.
A few minutes later, another message appeared, a video.
Security footage from the temporary shelter. Ethan was seen arguing with volunteers, pushing another student aside, complaining that the food was not good enough, demanding special treatment.
Emily watched silently, then whispered, I don't understand. I looked at her. That's because you never saw him. She looked at me. What does that mean? You saw the person you remembered. I stood up. Everyone else saw the person he became.
That afternoon, Ethan appeared on campus. He was no longer the popular athlete everyone admired. People looked at him differently. Students who once surrounded him now avoided him. He walked into the student center and found Emily waiting. She wanted answers, and I knew because Noah showed me the security footage later.
Not because I was watching her, but because Ethan's reaction became public. Emily stood in front of him. Why? Ethan frowned. What? Why did you pretend? He immediately became defensive. Pretend what?
She held up the investigation report.
The injury.
His face changed.
I was hurt. Not like you said. I was scared. That doesn't explain everything.
Ethan looked around. Students were watching. His voice became louder.
You chose me. Emily froze. What? You chose me over him.
The sentence shocked everyone. Ethan continued, you knew exactly what you were doing.
Emily stepped back. No. Yes. He laughed. You wanted to be the person who saved me. The room went silent. You wanted everyone to see you as loyal. Emily's face became pale. And Ryan? Ethan shrugged.
Ryan always looked like he could handle himself. That sentence spread through campus within hours, because everyone understood what it meant. Ethan never needed Emily, he needed the story, and Emily needed to be the hero.
3 days later, the
university held a public apology ceremony. The administration wanted Carter Global Rescue represented. They wanted me there, not as a student, but as the person who had saved the campus.
When I arrived, hundreds of people were waiting, reporters, students, faculty. The university president stepped onto the stage. Mr. Ryan Carter. The crowd applauded. I walked forward. The same campus where I had once been treated like an ordinary student now watched me differently. The president handed me a microphone. I want to apologize. I looked at him. For what? He hesitated.
For failing to recognize your contribution.
I looked at the audience, then answered, the problem wasn't that you failed to recognize me. Everyone became quiet. The problem was that you ignored the warning. The president lowered his head.
I continued, a disaster does not start when the water rises, it starts when people decide preparation is unnecessary. The words were recorded, they appeared everywhere, but the biggest reaction came from Emily. She stood at the back of the crowd, watching, listening, realizing the man she abandoned was now the person everyone respected. After the ceremony, Emily found me outside, the sunset reflected on the damaged buildings, and she stood several feet away.
Ryan. I stopped. She looked at me. I finally understand. I waited.
She continued, you weren't angry because I chose Ethan, you were hurt because I never believed you mattered enough to choose. I said nothing, because for once she understood, but understanding did not change the past.
Emily stepped closer. Is there any chance? I looked at her. A chance for what?
Her voice became smaller.
For us. The answer came immediately. No. She looked down. Because you hate me. I shook my head. No. Then why?
I looked toward the rescue center lights in the distance. Because I don't want a relationship where I have to survive a disaster before someone realizes my value.
Emily's eyes turned red, she wiped them quickly, then she walked away.
This time she was the one leaving, and this time, nobody chased her.
That night, Noah entered my office. Ethan Brooks made another move. I looked up. What did he do?
He contacted several media companies.
For what? He wants to claim Carter Global Rescue ruined his reputation.
I closed the file in front of me.
Then he wants a fight. Noah nodded. Are you ready?
I looked out at the city, the flood had destroyed buildings, destroyed plans, destroyed relationships, but it had also revealed the truth.
Prepare everything. Noah asked, everything? I nodded. Every record. The next battle was not about emotions, it was about facts.
And Ethan Brooks had no idea how much evidence was waiting. Ethan Brooks made his move exactly the way I expected, he did not apologize. He did not admit his mistakes, he attacked.
3 days after the university ceremony, every major local news channel received the same statement. Former student-athlete Ethan Brooks claims Carter Global Rescue used its influence to destroy his reputation. The headline appeared everywhere, flood survivor accuses billionaire heir of personal revenge.
The story was designed carefully, Ethan was no longer the hero from campus, so he changed the story, now he wanted to become the victim.
Noah placed the report on my desk.
He is claiming you targeted him because of Emily.
I looked at the statement. He still thinks this is about her. Noah shook his head. He says you were jealous. I closed the folder. Then he is about to learn the difference between revenge and accountability. Noah waited. What are your instructions?
I looked at the evidence files stacked beside him.
Release everything.
That afternoon, Carter Global Rescue released the complete rescue record, not a dramatic statement, not an emotional response, just facts, the rescue timeline, the medical reports, the security footage, the communication logs, every decision made during the flood. The public saw everything.
At 8:12 p.m., Ethan Brooks reached the rescue station. At 8:15 p.m., he exaggerated his injury. At 8:18 p.m., he pressured Emily to choose him. At 8:21 p.m., he left the campus. At 8:30 p.m., I activated emergency protocol.
The timeline was impossible to argue with.
The internet changed overnight, the same people who had criticized me now defended me. But I did not care about public opinion, I cared about facts.
Emily came to see me again the next morning, this time she did not come angry, she came carrying a folder. She placed it on my desk.
What is this? She looked at me. Evidence. I opened it, inside were screenshots. Messages, photos, records of conversations between Ethan and several students.
She spoke quietly, I found these after the investigation started. I looked through the files. Ethan had been planning his story before the flood even ended, he had contacted people. Asked them to describe him as a hero, prepared interviews, created a version of events where he was the victim.
Emily sat across from me. I should have seen it. I closed the folder. Yes.
The answer was direct, her eyes moved.
You really don't want to comfort me anymore. No. She lowered her head. Because I hurt you. I looked at her. Because I am not responsible for making you feel better about what you did.
The room became quiet. Emily nodded slowly.
I deserve that. For once, she did not argue, she did not defend herself, she accepted it.
But acceptance did not erase consequences.
2 weeks later, Ethan filed a formal complaint against Carter Global Rescue. His lawyer claimed defamation, emotional damages, abuse of corporate influence. The media loved it, another scandal, another dramatic headline.
But Ethan made one mistake. He believed everyone fought with emotions. I fought with documents. Carter Global Rescue's legal department prepared everything, every report, every witness statement, every timestamp. The hearing was scheduled, and the entire university watched.
The hearing room was packed, students filled the back seats, reporters stood outside. Ethan arrived wearing an expensive suit, he smiled at cameras, he wanted everyone to believe he was confident.
His lawyer stood beside him.
My client was a victim of targeted humiliation.
I sat across from them, silent. The lawyer continued, Mr. Carter used his wealth and position to destroy a young man who simply survived a disaster. The room waited, then my lawyer stood.
May we present the timeline?
The first video appeared, the rescue footage, Ethan entering the station, walking normally, talking normally, then pretending to struggle when he saw the boat.
The room became silent.
His lawyer immediately objected.
Context is missing. My lawyer nodded. Then let's add context.
The next video appeared, the conversation between Ethan and another student. Ethan's voice filled the room. I need that boat.
Ryan can wait.
The room changed instantly. Emily was sitting in the audience, and she covered her mouth. She had heard those words before, but hearing them recorded was different.
The lawyer continued, here is the medical report.
The document appeared, Mr. Brooks had a minor shoulder injury.
No emergency evacuation was required.
Ethan's lawyer stopped talking. The judge looked toward him.
Do you have a response? He had none.
After the hearing, Ethan walked out surrounded by reporters, but this time nobody wanted his story, they wanted answers.
One reporter asked, Mr. Brooks, did you fake your injury? Another asked, did you manipulate the rescue decision?
Ethan pushed through the crowd. He looked completely different. The confident athlete was gone, the admired student was gone, only the truth remained. That evening, Emily came to my office for the last time. She stood by the window, the city lights reflected on the glass.
You won. I looked at her.
This was never a competition.
She nodded. I know. She took a breath.
I kept thinking if I explained enough, you would understand.
I waited. But I finally understand something. She looked at me.
I was asking you to forgive me because I didn't want to live with what I did.
I said nothing.
She continued, I wasn't asking because I cared about your pain. That was the first honest thing she had said in weeks. She wiped her eyes.
I'm sorry. I nodded. Goodbye, Emily.
Her face changed. She knew this was different, not anger, not punishment, the end. She walked toward the door. Before leaving, she stopped.
Ryan.
I looked up. I hope someone chooses you the way you deserved.
I looked at her. They already did.
She froze. I looked toward the city outside, myself. She left, the door closed, and for the first time since the flood, everything was quiet.
1 month later, Carter Global Rescue announced a new project, a nationwide emergency preparation program.
The first location was the university that had failed during the flood.
Some people questioned my decision. Why help the place that ignored warnings?
The answer was simple, because the students were not responsible for the mistakes of the people in charge. I stood in front of hundreds of students during the announcement. A reporter asked, Mr. Carter, after everything that happened, do you still believe people can change? I looked at the crowd, then answered, people can change, but they have to accept the truth first. The cameras recorded every word, because everyone knew the story, the flood, the rescue boat, the betrayal. The private aircraft, the man who was abandoned, and the man who walked away stronger that night.
Noah brought me the final report. Ethan Brooks lost his sponsorship contracts. I nodded. And Emily? Noah looked at the document.
She resigned from student leadership. I closed the file, no celebration, no satisfaction, just closure. The storm had ended, the water had disappeared, but everyone had learned the same lesson: when the world is falling apart, people reveal who they truly are, and once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. 6 months after the flood, nobody called me Ryan Carter, the student anymore. That name belonged to the past.
The newspapers called me many things.
The young rescue leader, the man behind the largest private emergency network, the heir who saved a university during the historic flood. I ignored most of it. Titles did not change anything, the work remained the same.
People still needed help, communities still needed rebuilding, disasters did not stop because a story became popular.
But one thing had changed: nobody looked at me and assumed they knew who I was. Carter Global Rescue Headquarters was located in downtown Seattle. The building had 42 floors, the top floor belonged to the executive team. That was where my father had spent most of his life building the company, and that was where I finally accepted my position. Not because of money, not because of status, but because responsibility had a way of finding you.
Noah walked into my office carrying a schedule.
Your first official board meeting as vice chairman starts in 20 minutes.
I looked at the documents. Who is attending? Board members, investors, department heads, he paused, and several university representatives. I looked up. Why?
They want to discuss the reconstruction partnership.
I closed the folder. Fine. Noah hesitated. There is one more thing. What? Emily Parker requested permission to attend. I looked back at the documents. Why? She says she represents the University Student Recovery Program. I nodded. Let her in. Noah looked surprised. You're sure? Yes. He understood this was no longer about the past, it was about business. The conference room was full when I entered. Executives stood.
Board members greeted me. The atmosphere was completely different from the university gym months earlier. I had been the person standing alone while my girlfriend gave away my place on a rescue boat. Now every person in the room waited for my decision. I sat at the head of the table. The meeting began. Reports, budgets, construction plans, everything moved quickly. Then the doors opened. Emily walked in. The room became quiet for a moment. She was wearing a simple business suit, no designer labels, no attempt to impress anyone. She looked like someone who had spent months rebuilding herself. She sat across from me, not beside me, not close, across, the way strangers sat. The meeting continued. The university representatives presented their proposal. They wanted Carter Global Rescue to fund a new disaster preparation center. One executive asked, Mr. Carter, considering the previous incident, are we certain this partnership is wise? The room became silent. Everyone knew what he meant: the flood, the ignored warnings, the betrayal. I looked at the documents, then answered, the purpose of rescue work is not to punish people after disaster, it is to prevent the next one. Nobody spoke. The decision was approved. After the meeting ended, Emily waited outside. I walked past her. Ryan. I stopped. She stood several feet away. Thank you. I looked at her. For what? For approving the project. I shook my head. That was not for you. I know. She nodded. That's why I'm thanking you. A few seconds passed, then she said, I used to think being strong meant choosing the person who needed me most. Now I understand strength is choosing what is right, even when nobody sees it. I looked at her. That is a better lesson than anything I could teach you. She smiled slightly, not happily, just honestly. I heard about the new rescue program. Yes. It's going to help thousands of people. That's the goal. She nodded, then asked, do you ever think about what happened? I looked at the hallways. Students walked by, employees carried documents, life continued. I remember. She lowered her eyes. But you don't regret it? No. The answer was immediate. She nodded. I thought you would hate me forever. I looked at her. Hate requires caring. The words were quiet, but they ended the conversation. Emily understood. She was not facing anger anymore. She was facing a person who had moved on. That afternoon, another problem appeared. Ethan Brooks returned, not personally, through the media. He had given an interview. The headline appeared within hours. Former student athlete claims billionaire heir destroyed his future. Noah placed the article on my desk. He is trying again. I read the first paragraph. Ethan claimed the investigation ruined his career. Claimed the rescue footage was misunderstood. Claimed people only believed me because I was rich. I handed the tablet back. Does anyone still believe him? Noah smiled slightly. Some people always believe the loudest person. Then give them the full story. Noah nodded. What do you want released? I looked at the file, not the old evidence. Then what? The financial records. Noah understood immediately, because Ethan had made another mistake. He had not only lied during the flood. He had profited from the lie afterward. The next morning, Carter Global Rescue released a second report, not about the rescue, but about what happened after. Ethan had signed sponsorship negotiations based on his false hero image. Accepted interview payments, used the disaster story for personal gain. The evidence was legal, clear, impossible to deny. Within hours, every contract disappeared, every sponsor withdrew, every public appearance was cancelled. The man who wanted sympathy lost everything because he treated tragedy like a business opportunity. That evening, Ethan called me. I almost ignored it, but I answered. His voice was different, no confidence, no arrogance, just anger. "You destroyed me." I sat at my desk. "No, you exposed everything. I showed the truth. You had the power to stop, you had the power to tell the truth." Silence. Then he said, "You think you're better than me?" I answered, "No." A pause. "I think I made different choices." He had nothing to say because that was the difference. Everyone involved had faced the same storm, the same danger, the same uncertainty. The difference was what they chose to do. 3 days later, I visited the university for the opening of the new emergency center, the same campus. The same buildings, the same place where everything changed. But this time, nobody was running, students gathered outside, professors applauded, the new flood systems were operating, the emergency center was officially open. Dr. Harris approached me. "Ryan." I smiled. "Professor." He looked around. "I still remember that night." "So do I." He shook his head. "I saw someone lose everything." I looked at him. "No." He looked confused. "I lost someone who wasn't right for me." I turned toward the new building. "But I gained everything that mattered." Dr. Harris nodded. He understood. That evening, I stood on the rooftop overlooking the campus, the same place where I had once watched a rescue boat disappear into the darkness. No anger, no regret, just distance. Noah joined me. "Your father would be proud." I looked at the city. "He would tell me there is more work to do." Noah smiled. "That sounds like him." The wind moved across the rooftop below us, thousands of lights turned on. A campus that had once been trapped by water was alive again. And somewhere behind all those lights were people who had learned the same lesson: a crisis does not create a person, it reveals them. 1 year after the flood, the university held its annual alumni event. It was supposed to be a celebration. New emergency center, a stronger campus, new partnership with Carter Global Rescue. The disaster that once trapped everyone had become a lesson written into the history of the school. But some people refused to accept history, they wanted to rewrite it, and Ethan Brooks was one of them. I arrived at the event with Noah. The entire entrance was decorated with banners, students taking photos, professors greeting guests, several reporters covering the reconstruction progress. As I walked inside, people recognized me immediately, not because of my family name, but because of what happened. A group of students approached. "Mr. Carter." I stopped. One of them smiled. "I was in the gym that night." I nodded. "I remember." He looked embarrassed. "I was one of the people who thought you were just another student." I smiled slightly. "Most people did." He shook his head. "We were wrong." I looked around the campus. "People make mistakes." He nodded. "But not everyone admits them." That sentence stayed with me, because admitting mistakes was the difference between people who changed and people who destroyed themselves. Inside the main hall, the university president introduced the new emergency program. The speech was interrupted. The doors opened, everyone turned. Ethan Brooks walked in. For a moment, nobody moved. The man who once walked through campus surrounded by fans now walked alone. His career was gone. His sponsorships were gone, his reputation was gone, but his pride remained. He held a folder in his hand, and he was not alone. A small media crew followed behind him. Noah immediately stepped closer. "Ryan, I see him." Ethan walked toward the stage. The president stepped forward. "Mr. Brooks, this is a private event." Ethan ignored him. "I have something everyone needs to hear." The room became uncomfortable. Reporters raised their cameras. They loved moments like this. Conflict. Drama, a former athlete confronting the billionaire heir. Ethan looked directly at me. "Ryan Carter." I stood still. He raised the folder. "For a year, you have controlled the story." I looked at him. "No, I exposed the truth." His expression hardened. "You exposed your version." A few people whispered. Ethan continued, "You had money, you had lawyers, you had a company behind you." He pointed at me. I had nothing. The room went quiet, then he opened the folder. "I have proof that Ryan Carter used his influence to ruin my future." The reporters moved closer. The same strategy, different day. He wanted attention, he wanted doubt, he wanted people to question the facts. But he forgot something. I had spent my entire life around people who prepared for emergencies, and preparation was not just for storms.
Noah walked forward. Before anyone responds, I suggest everyone watches the complete record. Ethan laughed. Of course, another Carter file. Noah connected a device, the large screen behind the stage turned on.
The first image appeared, a message from Ethan, dated 3 days after the flood. The message read, "I need the hero story.
Make sure everyone knows I saved people."
The room became silent. Ethan's face changed. That's fake. The next image appeared, payment records, interview contracts, media agreements, everything connected to his false story. The reporters stopped filming him, they started filming the evidence.
Ethan stepped forward. You can't do this. Noah looked at him calmly.
Everything displayed here was obtained through legal investigation.
Ethan looked at me. You planned this. I shook my head. No.
I pointed toward the screen.
You planned it.
The room changed completely. Nobody looked at Ethan as a victim anymore, they looked at him as someone who had used a disaster for personal gain.
One reporter asked, "Mr. Brooks, did you intentionally exaggerate your injury?" Another asked, "Did you manipulate Emily Parker's decision?" Ethan became angry. You don't understand, you weren't there. I stepped forward. I was. He looked at me.
I was there when the water entered the building. I continued, I was there when the rescue boat arrived.
The room became silent. And I was there when you took the seat that wasn't yours. Ethan's face turned red. You had another way out. Yes. I nodded.
Later.
But at that moment, nobody knew that.
That was the part people understood. The truth was not about my private aircraft, the truth was about what happened before anyone knew my name. Emily was also at the event, she stood near the back, watching everything.
When Ethan saw her, he pointed. She chose me.
The room froze. Emily closed her eyes.
Ethan continued, she chose me over him.
Nobody answered because that was true, but the truth did not help him anymore.
I looked at Emily, then back at Ethan. Yes. I nodded. She did.
Ethan smiled like he thought he had won something. Then I continued, and that was her choice, not mine. The smile disappeared.
I looked directly at him. You keep trying to blame everyone else for the consequences of your decisions. The room became quiet. But nobody forced you to lie. Nobody forced you to fake weakness. Nobody forced you to use a disaster to build a reputation.
The words were simple, but there was nowhere for him to hide.
After the event,
Ethan lost the final battle, not because of my company, not because of my money, but because nobody believed him anymore. His last interview disappeared from every platform, his legal claims were dismissed, the people who once defended him stopped answering his calls. A month later, he left the city, no announcement, no farewell, just gone. Emily found me outside the emergency center after the event. She stood beside the new flood protection system, the same place where students had once feared for their lives.
Ryan. I stopped.
She looked at the building.
It's strange.
What is?
1 year ago, everything ended here.
She looked at the campus.
Now everything started here. I said nothing. She looked at me. I finally understand. I waited. You didn't become successful because of what happened, you were already someone important.
She continued, the flood only showed everyone else.
Her eyes became red.
I spent years trying to find someone who would always choose me, and I lost the person who already did.
The sentence stayed between us, but I did not move. Emily took a breath. I'm not asking you to come back.
Good, because I had already moved forward. I just wanted you to know. She stopped, then finished, I'm sorry.
I nodded. I know.
She looked surprised.
You know?
Yes.
A pause. But sorry does not change the past.
She accepted it this time, she really accepted it. That night, I boarded my aircraft again, not because I was running away, but because there were more places that needed help, more communities.
More disasters, more people waiting for someone to arrive. Noah sat across from me. Where next?
I looked at the flight plan. Texas, for another rescue project.
He nodded.
The engine started, the runway lights stretched ahead. A year ago, I had watched a rescue boat leave without me. Tonight, I watched my own aircraft rise into the sky. The difference was not the plane, the difference was the person sitting inside it. The man they left behind was gone, and the man who replaced him knew exactly where he was going.
2 years after the flood, Carter Global Rescue became one of the largest private emergency organizations in North America. The university disaster was no longer remembered as a tragedy, it became the moment that changed everything.
New flood systems were installed across dozens of campuses, emergency response programs were created, thousands of students learned survival skills because of what happened that night. But for me, the biggest change was not the company, it was the person I became. The aircraft landed in Texas just after sunrise. A hurricane had damaged several coastal towns, thousands of families needed temporary shelters. The moment I stepped onto the runway, my team was already waiting. Mr. Carter, Captain Mason handed me the latest report.
Storm damage is worse than expected. I looked through the information. How many people need evacuation? Approximately 400. I nodded.
Then we start with the most vulnerable.
Mason smiled slightly. Still the same. I looked at him. What?
2 years ago, you were the person waiting for a rescue boat.
He paused. Now you're the person sending them.
I looked toward the aircraft behind me. Life had a strange way of changing, but not because of luck, because choices had consequences. That afternoon, I visited a temporary shelter. Families were sitting together, children receiving medical checks, volunteers distributing supplies. A young boy approached me.
Are you the airplane guy? I smiled. The airplane guy? He nodded. My mom said you bring people home. I looked at the boy. Your mom is right. He smiled. Are you a pilot? I shook my head. No. Then why do you have planes? I laughed. Because sometimes people need help faster than cars can drive.
The boy nodded like that was the most reasonable answer in the world, then ran back to his family. Small moments like that were why I continued doing this, not recognition, not headlines, not proving anything to people from my past, just helping people who needed someone.
That evening, Noah walked into the command center. He handed me a file. Something from Seattle. I looked at him. Problem? No. He paused. An update.
I opened the file. It was about Emily Parker. She had graduated. She was working for a non-profit organization focused on student safety. I read the report. She had spent the last 2 years rebuilding her life. No more attention seeking, no more pretending, just work.
Noah watched me. You want to know more? I closed the file. No.
He nodded. I think he expected that answer, because some chapters ended without needing another conversation. A month later, I returned to Seattle for a board meeting. The city had changed, but not as much as I had. After the meeting, I visited the old university campus. The emergency center was now complete. Students walked through the building, training programs were running. The place that once represented failure now represented preparation.
Dr. Harris found me outside. You always come here alone. I smiled. Sometimes. He looked at the building. It's hard to believe what happened. I nodded. 2 years feels longer than it was. He looked at me. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Emily chose you? The question was direct. I looked toward the students entering the center. No.
He seemed surprised.
Never? I shook my head. Because the person I am today would not exist.
Dr. Harris nodded slowly.
That is a rare answer. I looked at him.
Most people spend their lives wishing they could change one moment, but one moment can also change everything. Later that day, I received an invitation, university anniversary event. They wanted me to speak. I accepted, not because I wanted recognition, but because there was something I wanted students to hear. The auditorium was full. Students, professors, alumni, reporters. I stood on the same stage where people had once apologized to me. This time, nobody was talking about the flood, they were talking about the future. The university president introduced me.
Ryan Carter helped transform our emergency response system.
The audience applauded. I walked to the microphone. For a few seconds, I looked at everyone, then I spoke. 2 years ago, many people here experienced a disaster.
The room became quiet. Some people lost homes, some lost opportunities, some lost relationships. I paused. But disasters reveal something important, they reveal choices. Nobody moved. Not everyone will choose correctly. Not everyone will stand beside you. Not everyone will believe in you before they know your value.
I looked toward the back rows.
Do not waste
your life trying to convince those people. Build yourself, become someone you respect, because one day the people who ignored you may finally understand your worth. I stepped away from the microphone. The applause lasted for a long time. After the speech, I walked outside. The sun was setting. My phone vibrated. A message from Emily. I looked at the screen. It was short, "Congratulations." I heard your speech. I waited, then another message arrived. You were always meant to become this person. I looked at the message, then put the phone away. No anger, no sadness, nothing left unfinished, because some people belong to your past, and that is where they should stay. That night, I boarded my private aircraft, the same type of aircraft that once shocked everyone. The same aircraft Emily saw when she realized who I really was. But now it meant something different. It was not proof of wealth, not proof of status. It was a tool, a way to reach people faster, a way to help when others could not. The engine started, the runway lights moved beneath me. As the aircraft rose into the sky, I looked down at the city. 2 years earlier, I had stood in a flooded building, cold and alone, watching the person I loved choose someone else. That man was gone, not because someone rescued him, but because he rescued himself. The storm did not destroy my life, it revealed it. And the woman who left me behind during the flood eventually learned the truth. The person she abandoned was never the one who needed saving. I was the one who had the power to save everyone else. And finally, I had learned to save myself.